This is Snakes and Otters, a pointless discussion of eternal questions. Get ready. We're about to live in your head rent-free.
Welcome, Otterites. Welcome to episode 224, our Hoopajoob episode.
I am Martin.
And I'm Robert.
I'm Francis.
And I'm Andre.
And I'm Cajun, and I'm back.
Yes, he is.
Hello, Cajun. Good to
Welcome
have you,
back,
man.
Cajun.
Yeah,
Welcome
back from the southern hot Atlanta, was it?
Jordan Con.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep, down in Atlanta, Jordan Con. Real good time down there, and maybe we'll get a chance to mention a little bit of that maybe later on here while we do a bourbon break and fill you in on what I did down there.
That sounds good. Hey, it's a Hoopajoob. Anything can happen in a Hoopajoob. You never know what we're going to do.
That's right. So, Brother Andre, what's on topic for today?
We're going to do something a little different today. Snakes and Otters typically takes a subject and goes what I like to say an inch wide but a mile deep. We tear it apart for a straight hour.
And a half.
Or more.
Or two.
Yeah.
And
Today-
in the spirit of more, I probably could make a bad joke out of that, but we'll let that slide.
Yeah.
Well, and to do something a little different, I think we're going to try and go an inch deep but a mile wide. We're going to have a round robin, and since books seem to be our favorite topic, we're going to have a speed round where we cover many, many more subjects, just a little less intensively.
Okay, that
Love
sounds
it.
interesting.
That's right. Bring
See,
this.
this is why we have brought new blood into the show. You guys are expanding what we've been doing, so that's great.
Yeah, some new ideas.
It's your fresh.
We ought to give a shout out to Marcus there.
Yeah, I was just about to
He's
say
a
that.
little
The
under
Imperator.
the weather, shall we say, in certain aspects. Don't want to go into any details or anything because that's his private toll at the moment that he's going through. But we definitely miss him not being here with us, and speedy road to recovery and everything.
Amen.
Yes, he's having a hard time of it being up there by himself. He is hospitalized, so all your prayers for the Imperator.
That's right. Well, the Empress is with him, and of course,
yes. The Empress.
The Augusta is with him. And
yes, and she is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, oh,
she
yes.
will, she will keep him healthy.
Zealously advocates for his interests.
Yes,
She's
I've
wonderful.
decided I know how the apocalypse is going to happen.
Oh, really?
Yes,
And it has something to do with the Imperator.
absolutely.
Emperor and cockroaches is all that's left.
So, I God forbid this ever happened, but if Her Royal Highness, which is Mrs. Francis,
Oh, yeah. My Royal Highness.
yes, your own personal force of nature,
Yes, that's correct.
ever goes to war with the Augusta, the Empress,
Oh, God.
Mrs. Imperator,
Oh, my Lord.
the devastation will be apocalyptic.
God
This is
help us
correct.
all.
Yes.
This will be cobalt bombing from orbit type stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
take
Fortunately, they are
Take
good.
off and nuke the entire site from orbit.
it's the only way to be
Sure.
safe.
So,
That's
point
good.
of interest, gentlemen. Point of interest. He's no longer only the emperor.
Yes, I was going to say.
Oh,
he
yes.
has
Yes,
two
good point.
additional nicknames now. In the interim, there, the Augusta also called him Sexy Beast,
Yes, and we took a vote. It was very democratic.
Yes.
and adopted that as an alternate name for the.
Yes, so Sexy Beast
Imperator.
is the Imperator Sexy Beast TM trademark.
That's right.
The Empress wanted to make sure we remembered that Sexy Beast is trademarked. Apparently,
Yeah.
I don't know where, but
Okay, Captain, get us back in line.
We trust her and will not dispute her.
a couple of other quick things because I don't want to forget, and I don't want to let it wait until the bourbon break because it's too important. And that is, we need to raise a glass to Big Paw.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes.
Robert.
Very much so.
He passed.
That is my father-in-law, Mrs. Francis's father.
Yes, and he passed after a long decline.
Almost 3 years of being
Yeah.
bedridden. Yes, it was a definite, a long time. I told people towards the end, I didn't know what to pray for so long. Eventually, I got to the point where I did, and saying, "Please let this end." And of course, as all things do, it did finally. Just a couple of weeks ago, actually.
Right.
And thanks for all you guys for being around, because you all were during this very difficult time.
And Her Royal Highness, she's doing.
She's
Obviously,
doing-
she's devastated. We
she
know
is.
that.
She is, and she's. And I'm not talking out of church, but I am. She had a kind of a breakdown 2 or 3 days after the funeral, and it was
Expected, yes.
It was.
Yes.
It was kind of. It was very unexpected at the moment. Even though we knew it was coming.
Yes.
But yeah, we worked through that very, very.
How are you doing?
Me?
Because I know you and Big Paw were.
Oh, very much so.
good.
We were friends before. We were friends before. I actually worked with him.
Yes.
Before I even met his daughter and married her. So it
Yes,
was,
he introduced the two of you.
that is correct. Well, I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but yes, that's correct.
And of course, I knew her before you did.
That's right, because
because knew her at Bellarmine.
that's right, because you had classes with her. I actually found out later I had a class with her.
Oh wow.
I never didn't even know it. She sat across the hall. It was a communication class, and it was. We only figured this out after we're married. Actually, all of a sudden, somehow we got to discussion. Wait a minute, because I told her we did a speech, and I told her the speech I did. Wait a minute, and that's all because she remembered that. So it was.
Yes, this would be many years ago. So yes, that still would have been close to the top of the memory.
I mean,
so.
Big Pa is a true family patriarch.
Oh, very
Oh,
much
yes.
so.
In-
Yes,
in very much the best sense.
I preached his funeral, which was
Did a very good job, by the
Thank
way.
you, appreciate that. It was enormously difficult, of
Oh,
course. But it was the last gift I could give him, and I wanted to make sure it was done well, and I think I did for the way it all turned out. But I'll tell our listeners what I mentioned in that. If you want to hear his voice, listen to Johnny Cash, because it's almost exactly the same.
You know,
Very,
I
very
did not think about that until after you, but yes, that is dead on.
Yeah, if you listen to Johnny Cash, and he was of the same build, big, tall, imposing figure.
He was.
With that very deep voice that my nephews were talking about, after he passed, but before the funeral, and I just kind of
Yes, that was the only thing. I have not seen it, but it's the only thing I objected to about the casting of Joaquin Phoenix as Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
He seems just too small to play Johnny Cash.
He does, and then there's an imposition. Nothing against his acting.
Right,
abilities.
right.
It's very good, but you're right.
So we will not call upon him to play Big Pa in the
No, we-
movie.
So that's
we would
like putting Hugh Jackman in Wolverine's role, that he's way, 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 way too tall.
Yes, he's at least a foot too tall. For
That's
that.
correct.
But, Captain, do you want my bullwhip out of my bag over here to get these fellas back in line?
I'll do my best, but we always want to pay respect
anyways.
to our.
Yes,
yeah.
the salute to
raise a
Big
glass.
Pa.
Salute
Big
to Big
Pa.
Pa, absolutely.
We're not close, it will carry on too long.
Yes,
Because we do have a bourbon break coming up.
that's correct.
Yes.
Okay, so again, keeping with our character, I'm going to throw out a topic. I'd like us to discuss it, and after you've come up with your rationale, try and express it in 1 or 2 sentences. I know that might be
Holy
tough.
crap! Is he crazy?
This is going to be tough, boys.
Just like the Holy Mother Church, we set goals. We don't expect them always to be attained.
Yes,
to.
yes.
So if I tell you 1 to 2 sentences, I'll get 1 or 2 paragraphs.
I'm glad
He's still overly optimistic.
he understands the concept of mercy.
All right,
very
we'll,
well.
we'll give it our
Okay,
best.
We will
do our best.
So
yes.
I'm going to start out with the one that actually brought me to this idea first. In the movie genre, what is the best movie you've ever seen with a plot twist? Example, in the movie The Sixth Sense.
See, that's the one I was going to go with.
I was going there too. Damn
Well,
it, Jim.
and you can still do so, but you go back and at the very end of the movie, a big plot twist is revealed to you. So why don't you start
Well,
and why?
okay. So when I saw it, I tend to when I watch movies, I tend to just immerse myself into what's going on screen. I don't spend a lot of time trying to figure things out. A lot of people do that. I think that for me, it takes away some of the enjoyment. So I did not pick up on all of the little clues that M. Night Shyamalan left.
No one did.
Well, some people, they lie and say, "Oh, I knew that was coming."
Some people have claimed it, but
yes,
I
but
think you're right.
I think they're effing liars.
Absolutely. I was going to say hogwash. But,
Yeah. But of course, when you go back and watch it a second or third time, it's patently obvious. But it was just such a great shock.
and that's what's so beautiful about it.
It was, yes.
You
It was
should have seen
great.
it and didn't.
Exactly. Because, just all the interactions, air quotes interactions with his wife only made sense one of 2 ways: that their marriage really was on the rocks, or he's dead.
Are those necessarily separate issues?
I know. Well, if you're dead, your marriage is definitely on the rocks.
Well, yeah.
She's ready to move on. Yeah.
Yeah. Whether you are or not.
That's right.
So, anyways, I'm sorry. So, Francis.
Oh well, if we're keeping this down, this is hard to come up with on the fly. I will say that, and I'm going to kind of springboard off Robert, who took what I was going to use because it is the obvious.
But he
one, I
only
think.
went. He chose me to go first. That's the only reason I got to do that.
Absolutely. But I'm going to springboard off it because M. Night Shyamalan is really the master, I think, of one of this type of stuff. And I'm going to go with his other movie that we watch regularly, and that's The Village.
Yes.
With
Yes.
Bryce Dallas Howard, who I thought was amazing.
She's an excellent actress
She
and
is
a great
and that
director.
Was, yes, and that was one, of course, she's Ron Howard's daughter, so she knows what she's doing, and she's been kind of raised with that. But that was one of her early roles. She was still very, very young, and she plays a blind person. Of course, she's perfectly sighted, and and Joaquin Phoenix was in that one as well, and it was and Sigourney Weaver and William Hurt and several others that just always bring their A game. Some fantastic stuff, and it was supremely creepy.
It was.
It was amazingly, because you think you're in this fantasy world, and then by the time, and I guess we're just going to be spoiling stuff here. So if you haven't seen,
If they have not seen it by now,
you haven't seen the movies.
It's 20 years old.
I was going to say
least,
we're in
yeah.
free territory on this here, and to find out this is all something that was orchestrated to allow them to leave the society that they abhorred. That to me was brilliant. It really was. When you look back at how the story is structured, we're all about good story structuring. That's the craft again. It was amazing because when you look back, you can see every single piece was specifically engineered to prevent them from getting out until you have somebody that you can trust, which was her, that can do so.
Well, and only because she was blind.
That's yeah.
The only thing I don't think was as well established in that was the reason they sent her because she was blind, because she wouldn't be able to tell what she saw,
Right.
because she wouldn't understand it. She had no context, but which obviously meant that most of the other people there also did not know,
Right.
because otherwise, why not send somebody who already knew about the outside world?
Well, which were only the founders,
right? Which yes,
the older folks.
Yes, the older folks, which some of them were in decent enough shape they could have gone. But anyways,
And the discussion is lively, but if we're going to get through these 42 topics,
I hand the baton over over to Martin or Cajun, whichever. Hey, Andre, you're captain.
No, go ahead, Cajun.
Go ahead, keep it in line.
Well, I mean, does Pulp Fiction count as something with a plot twist?
only if you understand it, and I've never figured that movie out.
Oh, when you're talking to the expert sitting here, Martin is the
I
ultimate.
think it does.
I mean,
because-
Absolutely it
the plot
does.
twist is, Butch, even though basically he has a price on his head, he rescues Marcellus anyway. And
Yeah,
I don't know. Is that the plot? I mean, I think there's a ton of plot twists in that.
and that's the
movie.
beauty of it.
certainly, and letting Ringo off the hook, robbing the diner is a plot twist.
Well, just the fact that John Travolta's character, whose name I forget, ends up dying.
Vincent Vega.
How could I forget that? Vincent Vega, of course. And you did a very passable impersonation of her with that, by the way.
Oh yeah, of Mia Wallace.
Yes, that's right. It was should have not worked with all this time jumping and
The
reordering.
jumping,
It should not have worked. But
out of sequence.
Tarantino was such a genius with it, and it goes back to that.
Well, quite like M. Night Shyamalan, he had a peak, but and I think Pulp Fiction is probably the peak of his movie making ability because of what he was able to pull off. And I think The Village
Yeah.
and
In Sixth Sense, or
Sixth Sense.
kind of Shyamalan's.
Signs was excellent too.
Yeah, but I don't think it was nearly as good as the others. I think his ability to do that plot, because now we expect it.
Well, there is a plot twist to that one, that an alien race who's allergic or deadly to water invades a planet that
It is
mostly water.
78% water.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that if you count Pulp Fiction, I guess that's mine.
Well, that's one of your favorite movies anyway.
It is.
I think
it
that
is.
can count because there's a
And
lot
again,
of twists.
it's an examination of Los Angeles, which is always an interesting. There are several movies, that are an examination of the
Well, the Bosch
undersea underbelly of Los Angeles.
the Bosch series is incredible for that.
Yeah, and of course it's a big part of James Elroy, in L.A. Confidential.
That's
Another
right.
one
Oh,
of my
absolutely,
very
yeah.
favorite films. In addition to this examination of what it's like to be casually hyper violent, and what's going on there? How can you just be so
Well, the
It's brilliant.
insensitive to this
Casually
hyper
hyper violent.
that
That deserves it, please.
word boner?
Yeah.
I think that's a word
Thank
boner.
you, Robert. Thank you.
Not a problem. I think you could also, if you want to go with twists, I know I've already had mine, so I'll be quiet real quick. The Night of the Living Dead. not the Living Dead, the vampire movie that he did.
Oh,
Dusk-
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
No,
Yes.
no. From Dusk Till Dawn.
From
Dusk Till
Dusk
Dawn.
Till Dawn.
Yeah,
From Dusk
yeah,
Till
yeah,
Dawn, which I think, did he direct that?
No,
or just
Robert
write it?
Rodriguez
Robert
directed it.
Rodriguez.
Oh, I thought he directed that
He-
as well.
He starred in it.
Yes,
was
I know
in
he
it,
did.
yes,
And
but
they're-
he worked with Rodriguez a
okay.
couple of
They're
times.
buddies.
Never
so-
mind. But that also had a nice twist at the end.
Yes, it did. Yes, and of course Harvey Keitel in both films, and he is very close to Rushmore level acting to me.
You
Yes.
send in the wolf. That's all you got to say.
So
Okay.
So
I'm going to be a little different on my pick.
Please go ahead.
And I'm going to use, I think, if you have a TV series that lasts a season or two, they do it real well, which a lot of them are made to only run one season now.
yes.
Right.
And that's the latest season of True Detective up in the Arctic.
Oh,
You
yes.
never know what's going on till you get
And
to
this
the
is
end.
the season
and
with
you
Jodie
still
Foster?
don't.
This is the which
the
one?
season with Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster's
Oh, okay,
new
yes,
season, yes. Night Country, was it? I think.
I've not seen
I'm
it.
not sure. It's an HBO series that you turned Her Majesty onto,
The very first season was great with Matthew McConaughey
and Woody
uh,
Harrelson.
yeah.
She
Oh
was
my God, how can you go wrong with those guys?
she was enraptured. Wow, and it was because it's HBO, you can get away with a lot of stuff. It was creepy as you know what. Oh man, it was awful, but it made a great story because you really don't know what's going on. Who's is he descending into this world, or is he still this cop? It goes undercover. But the third season I haven't seen yet. She hasn't gotten that far.
Yeah, the second and third, they're not bad, but they're nothing as great as the first and the fourth. And the fourth one with Jodie Foster that came out
Oh, fourth one. Okay.
was just marvelous. You really never knew what was going on, what was in the real world, what was mystical, or Native American spirituality in it. Spirituality.
Spirituality.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Well, she's a force to be reckoned with anyway. I mean,
Oh, yes.
she's an amazing director.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Night Country. That was the title for that
Yeah,
running
another-
season.
another
and just
Rushmore
excellent
level.
combined. It's like an extra long movie as far as I can say.
yeah.
And
Well, you
done
know,
very, very
yeah,
well.
And I think that's a valid
Yeah,
way to
yeah.
look at these things because
Yeah,
it is because
it's a single arc.
You're-
it's
yeah,
a
you're
single
looking at
arc.
Each season is different actors.
Yeah.
Single arc. Though this fourth season did make a few references back to the very first season.
Oh, nice.
Okay,
They
yeah.
kinda
I like
tied
a little bit
together
of
a little
continuity.
bit.
That's
Very
Shared
small
universe
tied
is
together
cool, but
That
individual arcs.
Matthew McConaughey's father was in this area of the Arctic.
Ah, okay.
And that's where his character grew up, actually, before he ended up down in Louisiana in the first season.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the advantages of the HBO. It's HBO. Most A-list actors are going to happily sign on because they know they do quality stuff. But you're signing on for a season, and that's it. You're not. They're willing to do that. That's McConaughey will do
Yeah,
that.
'cause
That's
TV
nice thing
shows
about
are a
He's
lot of
still
work.
an executive producer on the following seasons, too. He is kept involved in this.
Well, because he knew the quality.
Yeah.
It was certainly that.
So, our next point of interest, Captain.
Okay, first of all, honorable mention. I was surprised no one mentioned the movie Presumed Innocent with Edward Norton and Richard Gere in the 90s. If you've never,
Oh, it's been
a long time.
forever.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I know.
that is my personal pick for the plot twist, where you're going through the whole movie thinking this innocent young boy is being prosecuted for murders he didn't commit, and as soon as he is acquitted, it flips, and you see he's a deranged killer who's guilty as all get out, and he conned everyone. And I hope I didn't spoil it for you.
Again, it's been out
No,
long.
that one was for sure 30 years.
The first Basic Instinct movie. You never knew she was actually the killer until the end.
Right. Well, speaking of Ed Norton, Fight Club is another great plot
Oh
twist.
yeah.
We don't speak of Fight Club.
That's right, because it's the only rule.
First rule of Brotherhood of Snakes and Otters is you don't talk about the Brotherhood of Snakes and Otters.
That's right.
Okay, the next one is going to be challenging, not because of the pick, but the breadth of things that we could choose from.
Okay.
What is
That's
your
good. I like
fav-
options.
What is your favorite war movie, and why? Now, to give you time to think, instead of waiting until the end, I'm going to go with my personal favorite, and I'm a huge fan of Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
And
Good movie.
well, and there's political undertones, there's messages in it, but I was captured by Lee Emery, the drill instructor.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
Army,
the,
yeah.
the amazing part of that movie is he was only cast. He was hired originally to be a consultant, and the guy that
Kubrick, the director, right?
Stanley Kubrick. Well,
Stanley
no,
Kubrick.
you're talking about the guy they hired to play the
drill
drill
instructor.
sergeant. Wasn't good enough.
yeah, he ended up with a
Kubrick.
movie spot in the movie. He was the door gunner that was shooting the people, and
Yeah, but
that was the guy that was originally the drill
Yeah.
instructor, and Lee Emery came up with pages of things for him, and he would be up there demonstrating them for him. And Kubrick was like, "Why don't you just do it?"
Just do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And, it was one of the most brilliant casting moments ever.
Well, he
because
built a nice career just on doing that shtick.
You know, he did, yeah. I mean,
He was a drill instructor.
Yeah.
that's right. He was. That's why he knew it so well. Yeah, and he's passed away too. He was a great guy.
Yeah, a huge. One of my fondest memories right before my father passed is meeting R. Lee Ermey at Cabela's.
Harley.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
You have that picture of me and the gunny
Yes.
and my dad, and it used to hang on the bulletin board at Knob Creek Gun Range for many
Nice.
years.
How about that?
Okay, I guess we'll go around this way this time. I'm
Absolutely.
going to go modern. We Were Soldiers.
Oh,
Mel Gibson,
oh,
Sam
yeah.
Love
Elliott.
that movie. Love that movie.
Of course, I could probably pull off a couple of John Wayne movies from back in the day, but I'll stick with the modern line right now. I think, and after talking to a few people that was over there, including some second cousins, my uncle and so forth, who was really in the thick of thing, that really showed the mess that they got themselves into. I mean,
very much so.
Those fellas did a great job
Yeah.
portraying.
It became about
Of course, Hal Moore. I
Patricia.
mean, just a legend. We have a museum out in Bardstown.
That's where
actually
he's from,
dedicated to
Bardstown,
Hal Moore.
absolutely.
He's from the Holy Land.
That's
in case
exactly
people
right,
Didn't
yeah.
know that.
All that Catholicity that, of course, Mel Gibson is Catholic, and that was one of the
He's
reasons.
ultra Catholic.
Very much so.
Shiite Catholic.
Shiite Catholic.
Yes.
But that's one of the reasons he liked it because Moore was very traditionally so,
Yeah.
and they included that in there. But Gibson, this is still while he was still in ascendancy. It is before all his troubles. This was right after The Patriot, I think, which was right after Braveheart, and he nails it. He absolutely freaking nails it.
And of course, that movie also has the wonderful Madeline Stowe,
very much so.
which
yes.
is always a joy.
Yeah, this was
Now, to me, Sam Elliott kind of stole some of the spotlight from old Mel. I cannot put down a Sam Elliott movie.
You
No,
cannot,
no,
you
yeah.
cannot beat the man. I mean, one of you,
Sam is awesome.
one of y'all
Sam.
calls me Grandpa, I kill you. You know, come on, that's good stuff. Sergeant Major, now we love training. Yes, sir.
So yes, you're right. This is a immensely broad, and Full Metal Jacket certainly is one of my absolute favorites. We've discussed Apocalypse Now at incredible depth and length. So I'm going to go a little bit oddball with one that really doesn't feature any real combat.
Stripes is not an option.
Oh,
Well, yeah, but the Kane Mutiny.
Oh, I knew you. I should have known you were going to go there. That's one of your
So
favorite all-time
it just happened
movies.
to pop in my head last night, and it's like, yeah. Because it is, again, performances, Bogart, Ferrer, Van Johnson as Mr. Merrick.
what'd you once say about Van Johnson? You'd watch him paint a room, something like that.
But
No,
now, somebody
I
mentioned
don't- I don't-
Oddball over there, and we cannot pass up the opportunity to say Kelly's Heroes for a
Yes.
fun one.
Absolutely.
Nothing authentic really about it, but it's just a fun one.
It is one of the best.
Bridge
fun
will
movies.
be there. Stop them negative waves.
That's right. It's one of our favorite movies. We featured that one before on some of our favorite
Yes.
movie stuff. I think.
So, much like another favorite, I hope I won't steal this one from Francis, but Mr. Roberts with Henry Fonda.
Yeah.
Both of them are very much
Those are two of your
about
favorites.
the periphery of war and the tedium that can get to you, especially Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
The pettiness sometimes of someone who's put in charge. But the Kane Mutiny, of course, is, if you're not familiar with the story, they're on what's called a destroyer minesweeper, a DMS Kane, and a new ensign is assigned. He is one of the 90-day wonders out of the Naval Academy. He's very wealthy. His mother pulls strings, tries to get him assigned to an aircraft carrier, but no, he's just on a minesweeper. The executive officer, Lieutenant Merrick, is a very capable, steady, but straightforward type person. And then Fred McMurray, of all people,
Oh yeah.
plays Tom Kiefer, the communications officer, who is also a novelist. And he really is revealed as the person manipulating the circumstances when a new skipper is assigned, who Captain Queeg is broken. After he's a career officer, and after years of combat in World War II, he's cracked, and he needs support from his wardroom and doesn't get it, and they make fun of him. And Jose Ferrer then plays the
Great actor.
attorney
Love him.
who comes to defend Merrick and Keith after they are charged with mutiny for relieving the captain during a typhoon. And so it's a courtroom drama and a military drama and this psychological study of Kiefer, and it's incredibly full of great performances. And so it's monumental film if you have not seen it.
Yeah.
Edward Dmytryk, I think, directs it.
Still a great classic. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna play off of Martin a little bit because he said about Apocalypse Now, we've done it to death, and we have. I'll state for the record that is my favorite number one, no question, war movie ever done. Period. Stanley. I mean,
Coppola.
Thank you. Can't spit it out. Coppola said my movie is Vietnam. So, and there's some truth to that. But since we've done that so much, I'm going to go with something a little different. I mean, there's so many we could pick from, of course. I'm going to steal one sort of kind of in the vein of your Caine Mutiny because it involves a mutiny at sea again, Crimson Tide.
Oh, yes. I know that.
Excellent
I
choice.
didn't figure you guys would pick that one. I didn't want to steal because I don't know what Robert's got in mind. I didn't want to.
Nope, not mine.
Okay, good. I didn't want to steal what you had. But Denzel Washington, who is possibly one of the greatest actors of all time. I think
Again,
Definitely of our
Rushmore level.
generation.
Yeah.
absolutely. He's amazing. I mean, his, Glory was good. I love
Yes, that is a candidate too.
Training Day.
Training
Day.
Love
Did
it.
not care for that movie.
Really?
The only part I didn't like about Training Day is the very end where Ethan Hawke shoots Denzel, and then Denzel just gets in the car and drives away. It's like, okay.
Anticlimactic. Yeah.
That's not realistic.
Yeah, yeah.
He gets shot in the ass. It's still going to hurt.
You especially not going to sit down and,
Yeah,
and drive
at
away.
close range, that's going to shatter your pelvic bone.
Yeah.
And maybe the reason I didn't like it is he did such a great job of being an irreputable person.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
well,
Ooh,
Denzel-
hold on.
Word boner.
Yeah, Denzel has got to be one of the greatest actors of all. I mean, his Macbeth was amazing. I don't know if you guys got to see that or not on Apple TV just a couple years ago. But this is he and Gene Hackman together make the ultimate foil because, as they say at the very end with Jason Robards as the admiral who wraps it up, he says, "You're both right,
Yes.
and you're both wrong."
Yep.
And that therein lies the entire conflict that goes on because you have a mutiny at sea where, of course, it all works out, but despite the best intentions of
Yes, because
both of
the
these men.
stakes are the ultimate stakes in this.
And
It's not
that's-
just on that boat.
That's right.
It is nuclear Armageddon.
Yeah,
Those are the stakes.
yeah, nuclear holocaust, as Denzel says. He says, you won't, sir. It requires my assent. I do not give it. I mean, he's got one of the greatest speeches that he gives very briefly in there, and it still delivers the bacon every single time.
Yep.
I mean, I've got the audio of Gene
Who
Hackman's speech.
directed?
No, you're not supposed to ask me that because I didn't get a chance.
Why?
to look
Because
it
you
up.
guys are the director guys. You
I
guys
know,
are supposed
but
to
I
know
didn't,
this.
I didn't get a chance to look it up. That's all right.
I consume.
I mean, there's a thread
Don't
here,
analyze.
at least one thread running through these, and it's these incredible actors tie a lot of these films together.
Tony Scott.
Tony Scott.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. Yeah. Thanks for covering for me while I looked that up because I had forgotten one of the greatest movies, and I'm talked too long as usual. Robert.
So I had three possibilities in my mind. One of which I would take a cue from Cajun and was a long form story and TV series. And I was trying to figure out how to choose between them because my first thought was Longest Day.
I figured that would be your.
Oh, that's an
that's
excellent
usually
film.
your
I
go-to.
love
And then
Longest
there's-
Day.
You mentioned that several times.
Saving Private Ryan.
Oh,
Well,
and-
that's
one.
Yes.
that's always mentioned in the top.
Yeah.
With everybody.
And then also the Band of Brothers.
And
Yep.
Pacific, it's next part. Pacific too. You can't leave out
Yes,
Pacific
and-
and talk Band of Brothers. They were
exactly.
side by side.
And that honestly, I think that one may have been better than the first.
It was
Band of
more gut wrenching than
It
the
was.
first, I think.
Yeah.
And
But
that's high praise.
so I was having a hard time deciding between these as I'm sitting here listening, but I think I have to go with Longest Day. And it's partially because of the actors that are in it. It's also partially the story. You notice all three were World War II. Matter of fact, all three were D-Day.
Oh well, yeah.
I just realized that all three are D-Day stories.
That's correct. Yeah.
But the thing about them really they are very character driven. Even Longest Day, which is very much a plot driven story because it's telling that Longest Day story. But there are so many little vignettes with all the different
Yeah, and that's
actors. Especially my favorite scene in that is when John Wayne comes, he's being wheeled into the
Yeah,
town,
his
and he
ankle's broken
sees the
after the rob,
paratroopers hanging from the trees, and he's moved to tears practically and angry that they have left those men dead hanging from the trees in their parachutes.
Yeah, in the buildings in the towns.
Yeah, and that I think was probably one of the most poignant scenes I've ever seen the Duke play.
Yeah, get him down.
But also, Saving Private Ryan, it's a true story, just as Band of Brothers, and they do such a great job of also portraying the horrors of the war and that day that Longest Day doesn't really do.
well,
because they couldn't.
You couldn't do that in those days. I don't think they wanted to.
No.
But,
But even so, though, it was still very character driven. The story, Band of Brothers, about Dick Winters and his company that he led, and all of these are they're just great studies of how regular people
yeah.
dealt with one of the most horrific things you can possibly do, which is go to war, and especially to invade.
And of course with Private Ryan, the part of the survivor guilt.
Yes.
All these people died to save his life.
And Tom Hanks'
And he
last
has-
line, earn this.
Yeah, it's like, did I live up to this? Was I worthy of their sacrifices to get me home?
Right.
Yeah.
It is very moving.
Well, it is all about the story, guys. It always is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next topic, Brother Andre.
Well, thank you.
While we
The war
kick back and cross our legs here at Studio A.
Oh, yes, we are at Studio A.
Yeah, and
A nice view of your deck here, and it's I'm very, very kicking it.
the next
like it.
time we meet here, it'll be during the summer, and I intend maybe we could record out there on the deck.
I would love.
that
Yeah,
would
we
be
we
awesome.
love doing outside recording. It's been a long time. I mean,
But now that we have this setup, it'd be a lot easier to do it outside.
very much so. Yeah.
Because before when we've done it, we were sharing one microphone, the three of us, and it just didn't work.
Along with your neighbors, Martin, if I recall
Yes.
correctly, because
Well, it was 4th of July, so I loved that we had fireworks going off in the background while we.
That's
talked
interesting because
about-
we did it at my
Ben-
place 4th of July too.
Yeah,
that's
did
true. We
Ben
did yours as
Franklin.
well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, before we move on to our next topic, I think it's time for a bourbon break.
Oh yeah.
Bourbon break.
Oh yeah.
So let's discuss what we're drinking today.
Brother Andre has gestured to me. So he had a bottle of the Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. And since I have not had that in so long, not since we were out at Cajun's
That's
the
that's
first time
that's your
when you
hands
had
down
it as part of the
favorite, yeah.
flight. And I don't think I had it anything other than just that sip. But yes, it is one of my longtime favorites. But I've been trying so many different bottles these last couple of years. I just have not gone back and gotten another. And so I so love this bourbon. I do. It's just it's one of those ones that's very consistent from bottle to bottle, which is a wonderful thing. I mean, I love, the differences you get in single batches or single barrels and some of the different things that people will do with their bourbons. But, there's something to say about consistency, but it's such a wonderful, creamy, vanilla, caramelly taste all right up front. It's just, it's a very smooth bourbon too. That's a wonderful
It
thing.
has great depth, if I recall
Yes.
correctly. Yeah, I know
Yes.
that's always been your go-to. If you had to pick one off of millions, that's your number one. Most days.
With all the ones I've been
Has it
trying,
changed though? I mean, it used to be.
Well, with all the ones that I've been trying, and of course not having it in the house, I don't know for sure if it's exactly my number one go-to, because now I have so many that I really, really like.
Oh,
and
yeah.
for different reasons.
Sure.
Like Copper and Kings is wonderful, but it has a different profile.
Yeah.
Cooper's Craft is very good. The Castle and Key. I mean, there's so many. That Weller Special Reserve that I have, and the Bookers. There's just so many different ones. It just kind of depends on what I want. But this is definitely, if somebody said, "Hey, would you like a glass of this?" I would never say no.
There you go. Sounds good. Sounds
Francis,
good.
brother, what about you, man?
Well, we can kind of do this together, I think, if you want to, Martin, because we're drinking the same thing.
Are we?
Today, yeah, we are. You are drinking my McTavish, are you not?
No, I'm not.
Oh, who's drinking McTavish?
That would be me.
Cajun, you and I will kind of do this together then, because I purchased a bottle of the McTavish 100 proof bourbon. This
Bottled
is
and bond.
bottled.
Correct?
That's correct. It is the brand is War Chief, which this is Graham McTavish, the great actor from Outlander and many, many other things, The Hobbit and all the rest. This is his personal brand. And he came to Louisville not that long ago. I did not get the chance to see him, but that's when I learned about that he's got his own bourbon out there. So I went and picked up a bottle, and I don't know about you, Cajun, but dang, it's good.
It is very, very nice. It's a good sipping, enjoyable bourbon for 100 proof. It's low key on the kick. I mean,
Very much so.
very nice. Blended flavor profiles is really good.
The mash bill is on the bottle. It is 21% rye.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
a little bit-
surprising. I looked
little
at that
bit of-
earlier.
No, but it does not. It does not have that pepper bite.
What's
I mean,
the
just a little bit of it?
level of malted barley on that? Because it's got to be some malted stuff in there.
Let's see. It is just 4%.
Really?
75 corn and 21 rye.
And you would
Wow.
expect that to be a lot hotter than what it is.
Yeah,
It is not.
No, not at all. I mean, 100 proof is kind of like the sweet spot. It's kind of like where
I'm
where
kinda
one is.
interested.
It is
to
7 years
know
old.
the
so
storage.
that's good aging, 7
With
years.
the cask situation on how they're storing that and letting it age and so forth, because I'd say that's definitely the difference on that
All right,
blend with
that's
that
a very
kind of
good
mash
question.
bill.
I don't
Yeah.
have that. I don't have the information on that. Maybe we should ask Graham McTavish to join us on the show. Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
You might as well bring Sam along. They travel all around anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go.
Men in Kilts is an excellent show, by the way.
It is.
on
It is.
Stars. Yeah, this is some fantastic stuff. But I'll yield the floor.
We just got to get the rest of you fellas in kilts.
Well, you know,
I have an extensive collection. I can lend y'all some, and they would fit.
I'd have to borrow Bjorn's, but it's in Tokyo.
Well,
No, I've got one that would fit you. Don't worry about that.
Well,
I
you
got
know,
one
I
that
was
would
gonna
fit
say,
anybody here.
I'm down.
I've
Martin,
been
you know,
buying kilts over the last several years, so I have various sizes.
Well,
there you go.
my
Well, you know,
great grandmother was a Reed, so I got some Scottish blood, so we can do this.
with Martin having his Scottish blood, he'd be my first choice to get. But you know, he's got to get some sun on those legs first.
No. The Scots don't do sun.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, you might blind some of us.
I'm blinded.
Not only do they got to have
what
a
are you
kilt and a
drinking, Morton?
sporn and a Kirk, and then I'm ready to go.
All right, Martin.
So Brother Andre and I poured the same thing. We cracked open Brother Andre's Old Forester single barrel,
Oh, yes.
90 proof,
oh,
and I
is the Black
strongly
Label.
approve. Black Label. This is one of the hot ones on the market right now. This is a fairly recent introduction from Old Forester. Salted caramel, Brother Andre. Would that characterize it for you?
Well, unbloomed, yes, I would agree with that. As the ice ball that is in there is melted, I'm getting a hint of wheat in there, and I don't know where it's coming from because I don't think there's any in there, but I get the flavor of it. But the one remarkable thing, this is what I would call a true sipping whiskey.
Oh yeah.
Because there's no bite in the mouth, the chest, the throat. It's just a delicious flavor, and you know, I could see myself on a summer porch, sitting back and enjoying this all afternoon.
Yes, sir. Wearing a string tie and a white suit.
Well, I say yes.
I say,
say-
Beauregard,
Belvedere, come here, boy.
go pour another glass of yeah. Oh, Belvedere, come here, boy.
That's right.
Yes, I truly enjoy it.
I love it. Looney
And
Tunes
on
made
the
the
note,
show.
since it is bourbon talk here at the moment, I did have the chance to do the Evan Williams bourbon experience
yes.
downtown this week with my uncle, who happened to be in town. And very nice little tour. It's got a lot of history to it. It's not a main distillery. They have a craft distillery there. That's where they make the Squared Six, which refers to the 6th block of Louisville, which all of Evan Williams owned back in the day in the 1800s.
Yep.
When he was cooking there. And on the flight, they had that, a couple of things, plus they had the elusive unicorn of 12-year-old Evan Williams in the red label.
That's
Now, you say, I've never seen that out in the wild. Well, I've only seen it in the wild once and had a big price tag on it. And the reason why, you can only buy it going through the Evan Williams experience down there. And then when you get to the gift shop with all the merchandise and bourbon at the end, it's not even on display. You have to ask for it. And they will sell one bottle per person.
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing how much that?
It's about $150 down there.
Okay.
The lowest I've ever seen it in the wild on the secondary market was $3.
Wow.
So, you know, you
Well,
pay
well,
$20
you're-
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
experience. You get a bottle of that, you're still well ahead.
Yeah.
So we'll be tasting that during a future episode, probably in September during Bourbon Fest.
Well, there you go,
Yes,
because
that's
we're all
other
going
big
to be
news.
there. Yeah.
Big
'cause-
news.
Yeah,
You
I
secure-
totally forgot. I need to hit an ATM before and get you your cash before. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
because
meant to do that on the way over, and I
Yes,
just
because
totally forgot.
Cajun picked up all of our tickets for Bourbon
Yes,
Fest,
Cajun
so we're all
secured
on board.
tickets for
Yes.
2024 Bourbon Fest.
So we'll be
That's big
reporting
news.
from that one come September.
Yes, and we will be doing some
Live remotes and things like
yeah,
that.
some remote, some interviews. I think
Yes, we need to-
Imperator has some handheld recorders that we're going to make use of.
Yeah. we want-
Robert's working on the technology to take Snakes and Otters mobile.
That's correct.
Well, Imperator has really done all the legwork on that. So,
Going mobile.
all right.
Okay, well, thanks for a great bourbon break.
One last thing, because Bourbon Break is an appropriate place for it. So, just as we raised a glass to Big Paw, we did him first and by himself, which is appropriate. Just want to make note of the passing of a few greats in the art world
Yes.
that we have not talked about. Paul Neary just passed recently. Of course, John Romita
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
passed, and we cannot let either of those go without being mentioned, especially John Romita
Tom Palmer as well.
and Tom Palmer.
Which
Yes,
I
he
am
is-
wearing a Tom Palmer on my chest right now.
Excellent.
This is I'm Doctor.
Well, that's a colon inked by Palmer.
Correct. That's
Yes,
right. Yeah.
yes.
Doctor Strange, that amazing cover 177 from 1969. It's my favorite shirt, and it's
And
Tom Palmer. as
Romita
the
was
inker.
one of the main
Geek.
Hulk artists, right? For a
he-
good long stretch. And Spider-Man.
Spider-Man was what he's most.
Spider-Man
famous
is
for.
probably the one he's most famous for. He took over after Ditko left,
Yes.
and he also took over for the Fantastic Four briefly after Kirby left.
Okay,
and-
that I don't recall, but I
and-
do recall he had a long run.
Yes,
He did
with
some of that.
Spider-Man, and I
Buscema
think-
came a little bit after that.
yes, and
Yeah,
Buscema came after that.
Buscema, yeah, and then I think he had a. Did he have a run on the Avengers as well?
I don't think he
I don't
probably
recall-
did an issue here and there, but he never had a run. That was more John Buscema and Sal Buscema.
Yeah, yeah.
And Don Heck, of course.
Yeah, oh yeah, he was the one
Great
that did-
Don Heck. Yeah.
long time.
So, anyways, just wanted to raise a glass to those great
Those
creators.
great creators that are no longer with us, and may their legacy continue for a long.
And I know there are others that we just have
Yeah.
forgotten to mention, but to all of them, it's just
Yeah, we try to keep those.
An actor from the Lord of the Rings saga. that
Oh
recently
my gosh,
passed.
absolutely, Bernard Hill.
Bernard Hill.
oh yes, he just passed.
Just
yes.
past King
Uh,
Theoden King.
Theoden-
Hail Theoden King.
Yeah, the of Rohan and yeah, it's terrific. It was a
truly one of
terrific
the-
performance.
Yeah, I mean that, and he's. I mean that's one of his many performances. He played the Captain Smith in Titanic as well, as along with tons and tons of other stuff before that. But he was an amazing actor, and
Wasn't he in Gladiator with Crow? Didn't he play the slaver?
that
Oliver
was
Reed.
Oliver.
Who was that guy? He
Ol-
just passed too.
No, Oliver Reed, but he passed during the movie making.
Okay, that's what it
during
was.
The,
Don't
yes,
you
he
remember?
passed
Yeah.
during the production.
Yeah, and they had to actually kind
Gladiator.
of do a little sleight of hand for his final scenes. When he dies, he'd passed away before they filmed that, so they had to kind of do it a little differently.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, Bernard Hill with King Theoden that was tremendous stuff.
he was one of the best portrayed in a host of best portrayed movies, very much so.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Okay, well,
Next one
you know,
up.
as we mentioned Lord of the Rings, it brings us to our next topic on the movie
Oh, very good.
Okay.
topic. What is your favorite epic movie or franchise? Which I could very much see the Lord of the Rings falling into someone's bucket, but the reason that this one brought me up I think it was the mid '90s. I watched a movie called The Legends of the Fall.
One of my favorites,
And,
absolutely.
And that gained me into epic movies. I am a huge fan of epic and continuing stories.
Yeah.
Whether it be multiple movies or just, in that case, one huge long movie.
Yeah, I had issues with that particular movie, but but it was an epic movie. Most
Yeah,
definitely.
it's
Oh,
Well, what is your
this is
favorite
challenging.
franchise or epic movie?
Oh gosh, I will defer to Francis or Martin or Cajun because I have to think about this.
Well, here, let me throw one out then, because I want to beat Francis to it, because he will. Bond, as a franchise, I mean, Bond kind of sets the standard for franchises.
well, it's the longest running movie franchise period ever.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't even come close.
and then
Nobody else.
probably my favorite epic is Ten Commandments.
Mm,
Oh well,
I mean,
yeah.
Moses. I mean, you don't get any better than Moses, right?
right, and Chuck playing Moses. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's still, and for 1955, that movie still holds up very, very well.
Oh,
I
it
mean,
does. Yeah, I mean, and Yul Brynner and the tension.
I mean, you got some
is
great actors.
so real.
So shall it be written. So shall it be done.
And all the performances are tremendous. And every year, I mean, I joke on Facebook with a friend of mine. Our favorite line is, "Am I to be bathed or drowned?" So love both of those. So Francis, though, since I stole Bond,
No.
what would be your choice?
Oh,
for
I'm gonna
franchise?
go completely obscure, and it's a particular movie that we have. I know that some of us have watched it together because I forced us to watch it at my house back in the old house. It's the 1970 movie Waterloo by Sergio Bonaducek, the Russian director.
Yes, thankfully I missed that.
I don't recall watching this either.
Well, then we can watch it again, guys, because it's an amazing Christopher.
Oh yeah. I remember now. Yes.
Yeah, I watched it. Oh, that's tremendous Russian movie making.
No, it was. He's just a Russian director. It was made by Dino De Laurentiis in the Italian company. Christopher Plummer plays Wellington. Rod Steiger plays Napoleon. It is the most amazingly accurate. You have something like 16,000 extras. That this is true film masterpieces that are on the actual battlefield, that are reenacting. I mean, this is long before Gettysburg. It's 20 years before Gettysburg did this, where you get to see every single moment, not just of the battles and the strategies, but the personalities, not just of Napoleon, but Marshal Ney, played by Daniel Herlihy. It's just an amazing moment of this one day that changed history so much. I'm telling you guys, if you haven't seen it, and the rights are a little complicated because it was Italian made, and it's fallen into obscurity for all the wrong reasons because it is damn good. I
hope it is, because by your description, that I'm going to put that as 21 on my top 20 movie list.
Well, it is well worth
Nice.
your time.
Good one,
All
Centurion.
right.
Good one. Liked it.
Let's do it, Cajun. What do you
Well,
got, man?
I will definitely agree with Legends of Fall, one of my favorites of all time as far as a dramatic, spanning movie. I will have to go with Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit as a long-running serial. It brought to life my readings as a child that I read over and over those stories. And I'm going to toss one more out that way that could have went into the first category, Midway.
Oh, love Midway.
Midway was a good spanning
another
drama
one.
Oh, yes.
there.
Yeah.
So
Very
there's
much,
three
yes.
different genres of three different movies.
You better shape up, Tiger. Some hot side Jap pilot's going to flame your ass.
Oh, that's one of the best lines of that
This
movie.
is so great.
Okay, now we're going to completely change gears here. We've been talking about the things.
Hold on.
Oh,
Wait, we gotta-
I'm very sorry.
Robert, get
Robert, please.
Yeah, because see,
You see, you can't pass, and
well, I would love to pass on this because honestly, I'm having a hard time with the franchise.
Well, we already have Star Wars. We've
Well,
discussed the length.
that would be the one you would think I would go to.
And then, of course,
but-
Trek that we've discussed at length.
But with
let's do another one.
the franchise for both of them have faltered so many times.
Yep.
So that's why it would be hard for me to say my favorite. I mean, obviously, I have great love and affection for both. But as far as we talk about favorite movie franchise, I don't know. I think there are so few franchises that really do a good job. Through all of the movies, so I'm having a really hard time.
Born.
Pardon?
Born.
I
mean, I've not watched all
Bourne
of
is very
Bourne,
good.
but I've heard that the films are very consistent.
that
and
that is a great suggestion. Yes, the Jeremy Renner one, the Bourne Legacy, I think is the one he did. It was okay, but Matt Damon was born to play that role.
Yeah, all the Matt Damon.
Yeah.
So I have one other one to give you something to chew on. Now, I prefer the original, but I understand the new series is also well done. Is Planet of the Apes?
Oh yeah.
Oh, but I should have gone with that.
That is an excellent suggestion. If I had to pick a franchise, Planet of the Apes.
I'm surprised that one didn't show up in our plot twist with
Oh yeah.
with the
yeah.
apes
Yeah.
Would have been
actually
a-
being us.
Yeah, that's a good
that's
point.
one of the classic great plot twists.
It is.
that
It's become a
Rod
a
Shtick.
meme and
Yeah.
almost a.
I think sci-fi, Sigourney Weaver and Aliens has done a pretty good job of
Yes.
continuing
Yeah,
to that.
That's a good
It was a
franchise.
little
Heroes.
uneven here and there, but
DC animated, not live, but DC animated.
love it.
Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
marvelous
Absolutely.
run for
But as
the
far as
sales side.
epics go, I have to agree with Martin. 10 Commandments. That was the first place I went when you said epic.
Now you're making me feel like a bad Catholic.
I mean, certainly Ben-Hur is also
Yes, Ben-Hur.
incredible as
yeah,
an epic.
absolutely. You could make they're somewhat connected, even though they're
And
not.
yes, so all of these are very heavily Chuck Heston weighted, but
Even Greatest Show on Earth.
oh,
is
it's
an
a
epic.
terrific film.
Yeah.
Terrific epic film. All
All
right, does that cover it all?
Agony and the Ecstasy is another great epic.
Oh gosh, I should have thought of that one myself. That's one of my favorites.
Mrs. Andre.
I suppose if I had given you that one, you wouldn't have made fun of me, though. So maybe I should have changed mine.
Give us another one, brother.
Okay, now as I mentioned, shifting gears on here, we've been talking about the things that we love, the things that we respect, the things we like. Is there ever been a movie that you've walked out on and refused to finish watching, or you just totally didn't like? Yeah. I have one in my life that I walked out on. It was Born on the 4th of July. It was
Tom Cruise,
either
right?
1986 or 1987. And having gone back,
Actually, no, it was a little bit later than that. I think it was 89.
I remember I drove myself to the movie theater, so I knew it was after 86. But, you know, I got up and walked out because halfway through the movie, I thought it was being severely unpatriotic, downplaying America. And in my young youth, I refused to take part of it. That's not what the movie was saying at all. That was my interpretation. And that's the only movie I've ever walked out on and refused to finish watching.
Oh, I've got one. I guarantee you. And Mrs. Francis and I walked out on this, and we still ridicule it to this day. And ironically, it's another Tom Cruise movie. It's Interview with a Vampire.
Oh yeah.
We by the time they start eating the rats and drinking their blood, and ironically, it's got some great, Brad Pitt and all that stuff like that. And she says, "I ain't watching this." And I looked at her and I says, "I hate this." We got up and walked out, paid full price because it was supposedly all that. Nope. It's still one of those that I've never seen it, don't want to see it, haven't seen any of the others. I understand Anne Rice is an amazing writer, but I don't want any part of it. It just wasn't my thing.
I'll go next. It wasn't one that I walked out of because I saw it in a theater, but love Jim Carrey. Is whether he's doing serious or comedic, and I love the goofiness of the first Ace Ventura Pet Detective movie.
Yep.
The second one we rented, and like 20 minutes into it, it's like, nope, this is done. We're just hit the rewind button because that's something you used to have to do, kids.
Yeah.
And
be kind, rewind.
Yes, right. Exactly. And we never have watched the rest of it.
When Nature
Calls,
was
so awful.
It was
so awful.
A tempting cash grab.
And I am one who very rarely will I start watching something and not finish it.
Yeah.
Even if it's bad. Now, these days, because of all the options you have on streaming, I am more likely to do that because there's so many things I want to get to, and honestly, time is running out. So I don't have the patience for bad stuff. But I don't count those because that's you're just looking for sometimes something to fill time, but something that paid money for to rent, and it was just so awful, could not finish it.
Yeah, I don't recall ever leaving a film. I guess because I kind of know what I'll like and what I won't, and don't really bother going to stuff that I don't think I'll like. So I don't really have one in this category of, just something that's like, ooh, that's just so awful.
What, do you have one you regret spending your money on?
No, I can't think of anything.
Another Tom Cruise movie, Cocktail, great movie. I would not want to spend current prices to go watch that.
No.
Well, I've got a recent one I'll just briefly mention because it's current, is Poor Things, the one that with Emma Stone. She and I watched it, and we couldn't finish it. It's basically Emma Stone running around naked, getting shagged all over the place, and it was just awful.
Wait, what was
It's
that
a
again?
revision of Frankenstein.
Yeah, that's
It's
one.
and I'm a Frankenstein
It's a
guy.
revision of Frankenstein, and we watched it, and it took us a while.
It was
But
just.
it's definitely different. I mean,
It is. And to me, that's why it won the awards, is because it's different. And she gives a good performance. I'll grant you that.
Mark Ruffalo did an excellent job
He
too.
did, too.
He well deserved on his awards for that.
But ironically, it's just this is too much. It's just awful. Not in execution, but in just the way it was written. It was intended to shock and to be all
Yes,
that.
it's extreme. It is extreme. You have to go into it with that set of mind.
And we walked away from it. We never finished it. By the time she becomes a prostitute in Paris and goes, oh my God, more of this stuff. It's kind of like, can you actually tell us a story instead of just showing her getting, having sex all the time.
Well, I wouldn't complain on that part either.
I mean,
But that
yeah,
leads
I
us
mean,
to an interesting
I
point when you say,
can-
I can't say I've ever walked out of a movie theater. If I paid the money, I'm going to watch the thing till it ends.
Well,
Yeah.
most of the time you're right.
That's my OCD. If I start watching something,
Yes,
there are
exactly.
very few things that I can turn it off. If I have to turn it off to go do something else or attend to something, fine, but I will come back and I will finish it, no matter how much I may like or hate it, unfortunately.
Well, that's
I used to be like, but I just don't have the patience anymore with so many things to.
But I'm very selective on what I start watching these days. I try to know what I'm
Yes.
getting into.
yeah, and that's just
So it's not exactly a waste of time as far as that goes.
That's just our getting older and wiser. I think is we select better.
But yeah, I'm sure there are things that I have wished I could turn off, but just can't.
Well, let me put it this way.
Kind of like a train wreck, watching a train wreck.
Well, give me this one here so you can have something in here. What movie do you refuse to go see, even though you've never seen it, or one that you absolutely have no desire to see? You know, I'm sure there's got to be some of those.
I
gosh,
really
there's
don't
probably a
have
lot.
anything. I give so many things an option to see it.
Yeah,
But I seldom go to the theater anymore. I refuse to pay the
I don't-
exorbitant
we don't
prices
either. We'll
for
usually
snacks
watch
and
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
I can wait till it streams, it comes out on DVD.
it's very
so-
rare. My daughters
Yeah.
try to get us to go all the time, and it's usually I says I don't want to fill my head with something unless I really want to.
Right,
And
right.
then it's got to be matinee for me.
Well, and I can't say there's one particular, but there is a certain kind of movie. I will not go see a movie unless Mrs. Robert just drags me to it. But even then, she's probably not going to. It's something that is very preachy, especially if it's very preachy in political ways that I do not agree with.
Absolutely,
I go to be entertained.
that's right.
I get the preaching professionally on the weekends. I don't need to.
Yeah, certainly that
Because it's always being preached at.
Yeah,
yeah.
I won't subsidize that. Either.
Yeah.
Best example I could probably give was something that I could possibly turn on would be something like the Halloween movies. So,
No
the
desire. Yeah.
crazy slasher stuff that makes no
Well,
sense half the time.
Her Majesty will not tolerate anything remotely demonic because we grew up in the time of The Exorcist. You guys know this. It was a freaking phenomenon in 1974.
It was.
And that specter, because she was 9, old enough to catch the know what's going on in the world around you and of the things going, and she can't go there. She will not go there. We've never watched it in the house. She won't. And the kids have kind of picked up on this. We just if it's any way demonic, it's not happening.
The original Exorcist is a very good film.
Oh, there's no. I mean,
Oh yes.
Oh, yes, no doubt.
yeah, it was based on, but that's the one that scares the absolute. And
Oh,
it's
yeah,
because it does its job perhaps
Oh, yeah.
too well.
Yeah.
It has scared her so much that she won't touch it even today. I mean, Jaws was that way for me for 10 or 12 years. And that's one of my favorite films. But in '75, I was scared of the willies, and I never saw it until I was in college.
That same vein, Poltergeist.
So, yeah, that was kind of paying forward the Exorcist type thing. What else can we do? That's another one of those scary ass movies that just really.
As a side note, what is your favorite horror movie?
Oh, that's a
Now,
great.
now, mine, I can nail it down to the very moment. David Carradine in Salem's Lot when he opens the casket and he takes the stake and puts it right over the vampire's heart, and the eyes pop open on the vampire. I shat upon myself.
Oh, really? This is the TV version, right? From the 80s,
70, late
70s. It's one of Stephen King's early adaptations.
Oh yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. Those eyes of the vampire, I forget his name. Oh,
Was
good
it
Lord.
James Mason that played the vampire?
I don't
I don't
recall.
think so.
It
I
could have
know-
been
I know-
Satan himself as much as it scared me.
Well, yeah, it's definitely a scary ass movie. One of my favorite horror, and I'll couch it as a kind of a franchise in many respects. Is Christopher Lee as Dracula in the Hammer movies in the 50s. Horror of Dracula was the first one. I mean, Christopher Lee, as we all know, he's one of our most respected actors. This man played Dracula with such elan, and Robert's supposed to hit the button with that
Wait,
one.
Elon.
I was discussing a point of show production with Brother Andre.
yeah.
So what was
Elan.
Word boner.
Yeah, for Sir Christopher Lee, I mean, he played Dracula like it's like 8 times, and the first 5 are really, really excellent. Afterwards, it was kind of he's getting a paycheck, but those first
nothing wrong with getting a paycheck?
absolutely. I mean, the second movie he does, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, he doesn't say anything. He has absolutely no dialogue whatsoever, and he scares the absolute willies out of you. He is so amazing in his craft.
I tell you that my favorite horror film is the original Alien.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am not a huge horror person, but the original first Halloween
Mm-hmm.
is very, very good. And the Kurt Russell Thing, again, John
Oh,
Carpenter.
yes.
Love Kurt Russell. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
that's two John Carpenter films. Very, very good and very frightening because of that factor of you don't know who's what.
Yep.
Yeah, amazing.
Well, I'm not a big horror person either. Ms. Cajun loves the stuff from Poltergeist to the latest horror movie coming out that she has to see. So I see more than my fair share, which I really don't care one way or the other on. But to go back, I think 28 Days up in Alaska. And Vampires
I never
comes out.
saw it, but I
Probably
remember.
one of my
Yes.
favorite, along with
Good one.
Dust to Dawn that we mentioned earlier.
That is an
Yes.
excellent
So
one. I
it's
love that
not
one.
quite just a horror movie, Dust to Dawn, but 28 Days definitely is.
Well, you know, I think most of us like that movie just for the dance.
Salma Hayek, come on,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and
come
nail
on.
it. Because you're right. It's what was it? He says, "Get down on your knees and worship." Yeah, I can see that. Yes.
In the vein of the actor you said who never said a word, one of the scariest horror movies I've ever seen that didn't show a thing was the movie Seven. If you,
Oh, yes.
if you go back and watch that movie, there's nothing they show you. You fill it in between your
Yeah, because they
earlobes.
tell what happened after the fact, and you're getting testimony. Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman, yeah.
Oh, that was a disturbing movie. You're
Yeah,
right.
It was.
The,
We saw
the
that-
more demented
and
you
Gwyneth
are, the
Paltrow.
scarier that movie is.
Yeah. Oh God, what's that say about us?
Exactly my point.
Yes.
All right, what's our next category?
Okay, well, great. Otterites, I hope you've got a taste of our movie selection. The one question I want to move on to another favorite subject of the panel, and I want to talk about books.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
And again, if you thought the war genre was a wide breadth, what is your favorite book?
Book?
Wow.
Book.
Oh.
Yeah, so out of all of the literature written in the history of mankind, which one would you read again?
Caveat: 3 of you cannot mention the Bible.
No. I mean,
Actually, I was not going to.
No, they're
I just had to toss
they're
that out
Catholics.
there.
They've never read the Bible.
Well,
Sorry, we're
okay.
Catholic. Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm going to go with the Lord of the Rings.
yeah,
It's
Yeah,
my
big-
all-time overall favorite. I mean, I read a whole lot of different things and so forth, but I think that was the most fundamental book on my reading habits and knowledge and the pursuit of knowledge that it will never fall below the number 1 spot. Though the
I mean,
other
it is-
9 in the top 10 will change probably as it goes along over
Yeah.
time, but that one will always be king.
I mean, it is the seminal sword and sorcery fantasy epic.
high fantasy
Yeah.
quest.
Allegory, epic, everything.
It's
yeah.
got-
It is,
but
yeah.
it's the
It covers
standard.
all the bases. Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
stand. One of us had to mention it. That's for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, it's the foundation for the genre.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Anything else? I mean, that's what it just amounts to. Though there have been quite a few nice high fantasies and stuff come out over the years. Raymond A. Feist, Stephen R. Donaldson.
Oh, I love
Yes,
that.
yes.
And I could go on with several. Some people I even know writing today I would top very excellent ones. But yeah, that's mine.
Yeah. So, gosh.
1984.
Pardon? Oh, yeah.
1984 between George Orwell and P.J. O'Rourke. There's nothing has, like, not even my parents, I think have shaped my outlook on everything more than Orwell and O'Rourke.
Well, you know, 1984. That explains a lot about Martin. Then.
It does. Well, isn't that kind of what's
Oh,
cool?
way too much.
Isn't that what's kind of cool that that a book was so influential on you, a classic, of course, that it essentially ordered your life, changed your life,
Yeah.
directed your life.
Well, that's the
high
mark of a
praise.
good book.
That's the mark of a good book.
It-
That's
it's-
correct.
You measure your experiences against this idea of, are you comfortable with the human future being a boot stamping on a human face forever?
Point of curiosity: how old was you when you first read that book?
High school, so I think 16 maybe.
Oh,
I was a senior when I
teenage
read
years,
it.
I think it was, I think we read it junior year, perhaps. And then, of course, revisited many other times.
Mhm.
And then when you.
Did you ever see the John Hurt movie?
Oh, yes.
With Richard Burton in it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
yes.
excellent,
oh, yeah.
excellent.
So that is a fairly faithful adaptation.
Yes.
What can tend to get lost in an adaptation of 1984 is Orwell speaking about something very specific, and they try to an adaptation can kind of smooth it over, and it's about totalitarianism. No, it's about the baby steps we take.
It was warning
totality.
to society.
Yes, the
It's like,
totalitarian.
first we'll take your guns, then we'll take your what? Preach it, brother.
Freedom. I mean, if they can tell you where to live, what to own, then they can tell you what to think. So your private property and your firearms are the bulwark of your individual liberty, and never, never give either one away.
And we've seen it twice in the last 100 years. Germany and Russia.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
out there, and we've seen it.
Well, yeah, I mean, any communist country, Cuba, China, North
and-
Korea,
Right, and
North-
those
I mean, it's
commentators
all-
who say, well, it's about Stalinism. It's like, well, yeah, but Stalinism is the natural outgrowth of Leninism and is the natural outgrowth of Marxism. So all you people that are like, well, socialism's never been tried. Yes, it has. It's a failure.
every single
Uh,
time.
The thing that contributes the most to human advancement and human liberty, whether we like it or not, is capitalism. It just is. Yeah,
And
fair
capitalism has its own problems,
It
but
does, it
far
does.
less.
But it's like democracy, like Winston Churchill said, it's the worst system except for all the others.
Well, capitalism does not usually lead to genocide as a definite, which
Exactly.
the other two do.
Well-
Now, it can be some, but we have not seen that capitalism
When it
practiced
descends into
on the extent
cronyism,
of those two.
certainly,
Well-
and monopolism and cronyism, then yes, it's
Well,
flawed.
Yes,
colonialism.
native populations throughout the world have been affected by capitalism.
colonialism.
But we
is
haven't
an
seen them
outgrowth
loading
of
people
that.
on rail cars to go
Right,
cremate them.
right. I mean, nobody straps a bunch
No,
of
we just give
cardboard
'em-
together to get out of Florida.
No, but we just give them smallpox infested blankets.
Or we pay them a minimum wage that you can't raise a family on
Right.
because
Yeah.
as long as the corporation is doing well, we don't care about the individual.
Yeah, genocide. You're right. As far as industrialized genocide, no, we've not yet seen that. But genocide, I think, in terms, and again, I am all for a market economy, which I define differently than pure capitalism. Just pure capitalism leads to its own despotism,
It does. Yes.
and
Yeah.
It has to be
Unfettered, I
balanced
think.
with compassion.
Exactly.
At its base, though, capitalism isn't stock markets and all that stuff. At its base, capitalism is the moving of assets from lower value to higher value. I
Yes.
have baskets, you have spears. I need spears, you need baskets. We trade. That's capitalism.
Well said.
we won't get into definitions. But I mean, because you can also make an argument that is not, because that predates the theory of capitalism. But that's fine.
Sure,
It's-
sure.
it's-
I
Well,
mean, yes,
we're rabbit holing.
Yeah, we are
Bordering.
rabbit holing. Yes.
Uh,
As far as books, gosh,
yes, we'll
this
move
is
off of that.
so hard for me, because I could pick several different series that I have revisited many times.
Yeah, and that would a
you
series would
Don't
count.
limit yourself to fiction. I mean, I did fiction, but I also threw in
Sure,
some
sure.
non. So
Yeah, I
throw,
mean, I threw Lord of the Rings. That's actually 3 books. So
Yeah,
that's a
well,
trilogy.
yeah.
Yeah, if you want
throw
to
some
take
non in there.
As far as series goes, definitely would have to go with the Honor Harrington series by Weber. Followed closely by the Stephen R. Donaldson Covenant books.
I love
Covenant
those.
books, yeah.
Absolutely love those.
Because those are great, sweeping.
I was going to say, and 3
epic
of us have read all
tales.
those, I believe. And I know Cajun has. I don't believe
Yes, I have
Mark has.
too. And I mentioned throughout Stephen R. Donaldson's name just a
Yes.
few minutes
Very
ago.
much. Yeah, it's certainly
And,
one of my favorites.
They tell sweeping tales, epic tales, but also from a very personal standpoint, which is the best part about that. Now, if I had to pick a standalone book, probably The Stand.
No-
Oh yes,
no pun
because you're a
intended.
king guy.
Yeah,
yes.
you're
because I'm a king guy.
That
yeah.
is, but
I think
considered-
that's his magnum opus.
it's considered to be
not
that, yeah.
The Gunslinger.
Oh, the gun, most definitely. Everything ties back to the gunslinger for
It
King.
does, but
Every book.
The Gunslinger started out great, but he effed it up by the time he got to the end. That last book especially I hated. I read it to the end, but I hated the
I
end.
don't think I ever made it past the fourth book in that. I loved the first three, and I think the fourth book is when it started falling off the cliff.
It was a side tale that did not need to be told.
As
Yeah.
Brando would say, it could have been a contender. It could have been a contender.
We all needed to visit Mages because a story is not complete without a Western.
Well,
Well, yeah, there's some truth to that.
Louis L'Amour. That's another great name.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
Louis
Sackets. I'll just toss it right in there. Louis L'Amour, the Sackets. That's another one in my top 10.
Well, I'll because I've still got to go. I'll
oh
go
yes,
ahead.
yes. Sorry.
Now I'll give you that there were two that almost made the list that came close. Count of Monte Cristo by Dumas is still one of my
Yes.
all-time favorites,
Yep.
and Frankenstein is one that's changed my life. Like Martin's here, that's the one that understand that man cannot be God.
Very important,
That is
yeah.
that is a hugely moralistic tale.
There's so much that's landmark about Frankenstein.
It is, and that one really could be the top one, but I'm not going to pick either of those. Lonesome Dove is still the great American epic book. It still is the greatest in many respects, and you will have many people will put that at the top of their list, and it's at the top of mine.
Cheers to
Larry McMurtry, the late Larry McMurtry, yeah, who actually owned a bookstore in Texas that you could go in and talk about the book with him until
Wow,
yeah,
that's
he
awesome.
said he doesn't want to talk about the miniseries. He says I didn't have much to do with that, but you want to talk about the book, we'll talk. And he was known to do that many times. But it is the ultimate. It is a Christological tale. I've talked about that at length before. It is very much a retelling of the gospel in many ways.
See, we won't pick the Bible, but he's still going to work it in there somewhere.
Well, I mean, it's all right.
Well,
which is
We
good.
should feel
Lord of
lucky
the Rings,
he has
we
not
already
mentioned
went there.
Spock.
Lord of the Rings is
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings has got plenty of that. It's also a retelling of the Odyssey from Homer, which is an excellent book here. But it is far deeper than that. It explores the human condition. And Cajun knows the book probably.
Oh, yes. I mean,
better than I do.
two different points of view, several different points of view, really, but the two main protagonists in it, of course, are definitely two sides of the same coin, and together they make one coin, which
exactly right.
me and Francis have referred to ourselves several times over that. We don't like to have no fun over there.
That's right. That's exactly.
I got to dig up the slack on that. But
And it's
yeah,
kinda-
Lonesome Dove would be my top Western. The only reason I went with Lord of the Rings first because it hit me at a younger age.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, when he said Lonesome Dove, I was like, oh my god, how did he not say that? But no. Lord of the Rings fits too. So yeah.
Absolutely. So there you go. Andre, what is yours? We haven't heard yours.
I'm chagrined after hearing the masterpieces that have been consumed and devoured by the brains in here. To mention that
Snakes and otters.
the one thing, the one series of books that I find paramount was
Junie B. Jones.
no, very, very, very close. The Hardy Boys series by Franklin W. Dixon. Very
Really?
formulaic.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they were all written by ghostwriters. But it was in the summer of '76. I got my first library card, and I devoured them. And it was the love of reading that was born through
there you
reading
go.
those.
See,
yeah,
I had
that's
a
the
shelf this big of them.
And it's not
Yep.
because they were the story or there was an underlying thing that brought an intense revelation to my mind. It was the love of reading that was born from
Well,
those.
and
Absolutely, yeah.
interesting enough, you say that the C.S. Lewis Narnia Chronicles were that way for me in the 5th grade, and I loved reading before that, but that took me to a new level, and it was just an amazing. Ironically, it's high fantasy, but it was, and it's very Catholic too. But it was an amazing.
Well,
moment.
that formula that you state, I hit the Hardy Boys hard in my youth from the library, and I would admit the Nancy Drews.
Oh,
and
yes.
Let's not leave out Tom Swift for the science fiction side.
Very
of
much
Oh,
so,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
lots of those, the Bobbsey twins. I mean, they were all very formulaically written. But where we went to school, they had the entire series on the shelf that you could grab them at any time. They're actually in the main school area, and constantly every single kid is zipping back and forth over every one of these. They had both the Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys series. It's
and
great.
Encyclopedia Brown.
Absolutely. That's
Love
I used to get
Encyclopedia
Tom Swift from
Brown.
the public
Yep.
library just down a few blocks down.
Well, that's right. Absolutely. So you could get all that stuff. And in many respects, I will submit to you, based on what you said, Andre, one of the reasons we are as well read as we are today is that we, in our formative years, encountered those books, those type of books, that somehow ignited in us that which
Somehow
birthed
I've
Snakes and Otters.
come to feel that books are near sacred.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
Oh, I agree.
know that's
Absolutely. No, I'm
people,
totally.
churn through them and see them as consumable. I buy a book, I tend to keep it. It goes on the shelf, and I don't resell them, and if I need a new bookshelf, okay, well, I'll figure out about getting a new bookshelf. But and I know you guys, you do ebooks a lot, especially I think Robert, you do a ton of fiction on ebooks.
Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of nonfiction on ebook. On the nonfiction and my theology, I like the physical books.
Yeah, yeah.
But I churn through the fiction so much that the ebooks,
Yeah.
Because you can get a Kindle unlimited subscription for $10 a month, or Scribd,
Yeah.
For the same thing.
But I've just come to the real world is so fascinating. I don't even need fiction hardly anymore. And so
Honestly, the way the real world is, I need fiction.
I could not imagine not having fiction. In
I mean, I do have a ton, but I don't buy a ton of fiction anymore.
Your fiction is consumed via movies
To a great
and
degree.
television. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to toss in audiobooks, too. I spend a buttload of money on audiobooks because I don't have the typical job I have to go in somewhere and pay attention to what I'm doing. I mean, I got to pay attention to what I'm doing, but I'm on the ranch out there on the farm, and I can listen to an audiobook, an 8, 10, 12-hour audiobook in one day if I'm busy enough doing things. And it has been marvelous on increasing my consumption.
I was going to say, you can
Costly to the wallet, yes, but marvelous.
You probably read, I'm guessing, more than the rest of us. Now, Robert may be able to do more than that. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for him on that.
Yeah, I don't know how much you read, but I'm constantly. As a matter of fact, I probably should cut back so I can get some other things done.
Yeah, I mean, if I include the audiobook, I'm probably going through a minimum of 4 to 5 books a week of various lengths.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah, I don't go
nothing
through that
less
many.
than
Yeah.
I know.
200-300 pages per book, of course. Some of them longer ones, like Lonesome Dove would be. So, yeah, I mean, because I can do that constantly outside, mowing grass, on the tractor, doing anything.
That's an advantage that you have with regards to that, because and you can consume audio very well. Doesn't work as well.
My mind wanders.
I'm not as good at that.
I
really
get
need
distracted.
and it's part of the writer in me that's. I know, Robert, you'll agree with me. We've developed this as we've written more and more. It is a visual medium for us now. You have to kind of see it.
Well, see, when I'm listening to it, my mind has a unique function and feature that it more like plays it in my head as a movie while I'm listening
I
to it.
think
In live color action. I
Yeah.
dream that way. I think that way. My mind is great at
I used to
interpretation, sitting in the show with Miss Cajun. I open my mouth and I'll say the next line they're going to say before they even say it.
Be that way. Yeah,
And she gives me dirty looks, of course, when I do this. So I say, this is going to happen or that's going to happen.
Well,
and
that's-
sure enough, it does.
because we understand the concept of story now. Before we all started writing, we just kind of accepted it and didn't go deep with the concept.
For me, because you're right,
I
with
know
the mind wandering, it's less. I guess the way, because I have a hard time shutting up the internal, and I will say it, dialogue.
Amen. Yep.
It's not just a monologue, because again, it's like a Socratic thing. Well, what about this? It's very much a question and answer kind of thing going on in my head constantly, which when you're trying to go to sleep is a really crappy thing.
Yeah, well,
It's hard to shut that down sometimes. And the reason I get distracted with the audio is that only one of my senses is actively engaged. Obviously, I'm still picturing things that are going on, in my head. I do that too, but unless my eyes are closed, I can get visually distracted, and even if my eyes are closed, I can still, I may hear something and I may rabbit hole myself while I am listening.
Yeah.
So
you would say your visual senses are dominant?
Probably, which is interesting because I
Sure,
do
it is for
prefer
me. Yeah.
learning by audio. I love listening to podcasts, but again, I still, I am not big on video for learning though. If you, I would much rather read. It's one of the things I hate about modern internet is that everything's a damn video.
Yeah, you got to go to YouTube
Yes.
to find out how to do this.
I don't want a damn video.
I
Give
don't
me the
want that.
frickin' transcript, people. I can read the transcript a lot faster.
Yeah, just give me the damn list and let me do it. I don't want to see the video. I mean, for some things it's helpful, but
Yes.
generally speaking, no.
Conversation between people, love a video. That's great.
I wonder if you all, as an homage to a far gone era, in my formerly nicotine stained fingers,
Hey, there you go.
No, I had you beat long before with the
Now, I was wondering if you all were looking at my notes because my next topic
did.
was, what is your favorite genre or way to consume literature? Is it paper, audio, or ebooks? And I think all you Otterites, I think we
yeah.
can say you are all audio fans, or you wouldn't be consuming this conversation via
Yes.
audio.
There's much truth to that, but I can't.
I
read-
still prefer
I-
to read.
I am an auditory learner, unlike Tim, who wants to read it. I definitely want to consume it.
There's an edit.
Whoops.
Sorry. There is, but actually, you and me were called out when you read the dedication from your Honor Heritage book.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. I try not to repeat that though.
Yeah, it's been done, but I'm kind of I like it. It helps. I've got a very highly developed ear on certain things, but if I'm going to learn something, it's got to be an ebook now. Some of it's because when I had my eye surgery, I don't have the functionality that I used to up close. I can't read.
Oh, my condolences to Her Royal Highness.
Yeah, it's I've got to see this in in fact, she was on me last night. I was reading.
Oh, lucky you.
Good job.
Oh God, I didn't.
While he was reading, so that doesn't show good interaction.
Yeah, that's true.
Lord.
Well,
Focus, Francis.
I'm trying.
You have a
You
job to do when she's on you.
Yeah. Oh, God. I wonder if she'll ever listen to this, but
if
yeah.
you're lucky, no.
If I'm lucky, no. That's right. No, I was reading.
You can
last
blame me.
night, and I was reading on the iPad, and she walks past me, and she looks. She goes. She sees the size of the font that I've increased. She says, "Why aren't you going to the eye doctor?" I can't read paper books anymore unless I have a bright light on it. And even then, I have to move it with my hands. I can see it, but it's
Called
just,
bifocals, son. Bifocals. Even
Cheaters,
eye surgery
cheaters.
doesn't fix that as you age. It comes back.
Yeah,
yeah.
just
Cheaters.
go to Walgreens and pick up a pair of cheaters.
I've tried those. They didn't really make much difference.
Yeah.
Maybe listen to Her Royal Highness and go to see the eye doctor.
Of course, you would give the obvious.
Well, that's kind of the
Because you're only making the problem worse by straining.
yes, but
And we're not going to sit around and read to your butt.
I understand why he has the reluctance because that's why he had the darn surgery in the first place is to not need glasses.
Yeah, that's correct. And in many respects, I don't.
Well, see, I did that too way back in the day before laser even came about. I had the radiokeratology where they went in with a scalpel and made incisions on your eye
Oh yeah,
to adjust. It lasted for about 4 or 5 years, and then age affected me and back to glasses. But nowhere near as strong. If I lost my glasses, I could still actually drive and function safely, where before I could not. So
And
it still came out
was the same way.
benefit, but, you know.
All right, gentlemen.
All
right,
You
so
have
still paper.
You have successfully supported Her
Still
Majesty's.
very paper, no audio, no.
Well,
No
I'm
ebooks.
cracking the whip here, and we're
Do it,
approaching,
Captain. Do it.
an hour and 20. Let's wrap this up. And I am going to open it up for one last comment from each commenter, should you choose to do. But you are restricted to 2 sentences. Anything you would like to add?
Oh man, talk about.
Well, that's one sentence.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got read 1984, watch Pulp Fiction.
All right. Encourage your children to actually read, parents. It makes a world of difference as they get older.
That was 3.
That was just one run on. That's fine.
I inserted the periods.
That's sage advice from the Cajun.
Oh, you
yeah.
2 sentences.
Wow.
Well, actually, there was one before. That was 2. He's done.
No,
Go ahead.
Great literature is worth the time, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Nothing more needs to be said.
Wow. Stories are vital to a healthy mind and a healthy society.
Very well said,
Oh
sir.
wow, we could use that for.
And I will leave that alone.
Stories, whether they be movies or books, are about people.
Oh,
That's what I said.
I would absolutely agree in both cases.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Otterites. I hope you've gained an insight into your panel's predilections on movie and TV.
I'd like to think we have some wisdom to impart.
That's kind of a dirty word. Francis, buddy, what's next, man?
Oh, well, we're going to go back. We're going to go to history next time. We're going to finish up. No, not finish up. Take to a pause. We've been doing the Manifest Destiny series for a while now. We're going to kind of reach a certain apex on that if you want to.
And then give it a rest.
And then give it a rest, and we'll revisit it later because there's so much more we can talk about. But we're going to kind of wrap a lot of this around one of the technological consequences of transportation issues in the expansion of the United States westward. And I think you all will find a lot of great fodder there for your thoughts. So be here with us next time.
We hope you enjoyed another pointless discussion of eternal questions. Remember, new episodes drop every second and fourth Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern, just in time for your morning commute. And every fifth Friday, we drop a special Hoopajoob episode. Spread the word we are on all the major platforms, and leave us a review. That helps others find us. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as our website, snakesandotters.com. Join us next time. Same snake time, same otter channel.